Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Zah'ra. I'm a 19-year-old who makes content, loves to film, loves to take photos, and I also happen to be in university. I say happen because, you know, I ended up here, you know? In today's video, I want to talk about 10 things I wish I knew before going to my first year of university. Now, what are my credentials? First of all, I'm in my second year of university. I go to school at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, BC, and I think 2 years of experience is enough to be able to make this video. If not, I apologize in advance for anything that I'm about to say that rubs anyone the wrong way. And I also want to say, to a certain degree, no take backsies. I said what I said, unless it's controversial, which I will be taking some stuff back if it is controversial. But anyways, let's get into it. Okay, so first on my list, and I'm just going to be reading it off my phone here. First off my list, save up. And like, now I know, like, you would think like, oh, that's a given, you're supposed to save up because you're going to university and university is expensive. But when I say save up, I don't mean for like tuition and like housing. I mean save up for the small things. Like, especially for room stuff, because I think before going into first year, when I watch a lot of YouTube videos, people talk about like making sure you have enough money for like tuition and like housing and feeding and all that stuff, but they don't tell you how much it costs to get those fancy dorm rooms, to get those, you know, all the things you want. And you could be that person that doesn't follow trends and stuff like that, which I'm not really that kind of person, but to even get basic stuff, you need to have some money, you know what I mean? Like, you need to get bedding for your room. Like, if you wanted to do just basic stuff, bedding for your room, you know, shoes if you like need new shoes or whatever, a couple of new outfits. If you live in a place that has a kitchen, you need to buy basically a brand new kitchen, pots and pans, you know, dishes, silverware, just stuff to make your life easier, and that adds up quick. And if you're the kind of person that, you know, you're not forethinking, I'm telling you now, start thinking about it, because it adds up. And especially if you go to school in what is known as a college town or like university town, sometimes they tend to price you higher. And like for me, so I live, like I said, in Vancouver, BC, and Vancouver's already expensive, but when you try to buy specialty things, it gets even more expensive. So what I'm trying to say, save that coin, get a summer job, get someone to help you. And my advice, I would say, just sage advice, don't be of the mindset of like, oh, I'm just gonna put it all on a credit card, because guess what, you still have to pay off a credit card. But if you save up that money and you know, okay, this is strictly for the fund and it's all going towards that, there's peace of mind, and you don't have to think about, oh, I need to repay my credit card interest, yabba yabba yabba. Just save it up, forget about it, you never have to think about it again. Cool. Number 2, requirements. So depending on your school, this is different for every school, and it's also different per country. So like in Canada, it's very different from like what the states will have. Depending on your school, depending on your faculty, depending on your program, there are requirements that you have to get through within a set amount of time, and you want to know that beforehand. So for example, at UBC in the Faculty of Arts, we have language requirements, we have science requirements, we have research requirements. We have a bunch of these requirements that aren't specific to majors. It's just to get your degree, you have to get through those requirements. And some of them have stipulations and time frames that you need to get it done by. Some of them you have to have it done by the end of your second year. Some of them you have to have it done by the end of your first year. So you want to keep that in mind when you're like course planning and picking your classes. And if you're going into one of the more like standardized timetable ones, those ones are usually those requirements are built in, so you don't necessarily need to worry about that. But you still just always want to double check, triple check, talk to an advisor, because it never hurts to, you know, dot your I's and cross your T's, or whatever the people say. So double check your requirements, because I've seen and heard of a lot of stories of like people just simply forgetting, and then they have to take a bunch of random classes in their 4th year, which seems fun, but it's just that tedious when it's like something you could have done a long time ago and you're just like having to now come back to do it. So, you know, just do it, get it out the way, and make your life easier. Number 3, university has a way of exposing you to things that you might have never thought of. And I mean this in a good way and a bad way. So in a good way in terms of like, you meet new people, you experience new things, you might find a new hobby, a new interest when you get to university. But also the flip side of that is, you know, just all the bad stuff. Because for a lot of people, university is that time where they come to experiment. This is the first time they've had freedom. Just, you know, all that stuff. So it's kind of up to you to like toe that line of like, what are my morals, what are my values? Not dictating anything here, but, you know, just keep that in the back of your mind. And, you know, when you're navigating everyday life in university, it's just something that you want to, you know, okay, there's the good and the bad, you know. You have to choose your friends wisely, choose your activities wisely, choose what you want to be involved in wisely. And if you play your cards right, things do go well. But if not, just be careful. Don't say I didn't tell you. You know what I mean? So, number 4, and this one kind of took me by surprise a little bit, because I think in a lot of like movies and TV that we watch, it's like university, you're always doing something. If you're not in class, you're hanging out. If you're not hanging out, you're going on some crazy adventure. If you're not on some adventure, you're studying. If you're not studying, you're doing exams. But the reality is, low-key, you have a lot of downtime. That's the truth. Downtime in the sense that like just time to yourself. And that's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean you don't have friends. It doesn't mean you don't have a life. But it's just, like I said, university is that opportunity to explore. And outside of your friends, outside of your classes, outside of studying, you end up having time on your hands. And like if you don't have a job, for example, that's time that you need to fill, and it's obviously up to you how you choose to fill that. But you know, just saying, you do have a lot of downtime, and especially when like friends' schedules don't match up because you're in different faculties or they're taking different classes. So for example, I have a lot of friends that are in like faculty science or like Zah'ra School of Business. Our schedules don't necessarily line up, so we'll see each other like once a week. It's not because they're bad friends, it's not because I'm a bad friend. It's just how it's worked out. But the important thing is, at the end of the day, we know we're friends with each other, we know where we stand, and we can each fill our time, like each person can fill their downtime with whatever it is they need to do. So if that includes sleeping, if that includes adventuring into downtown, which I've done a lot, picking up a new hobby, going on a walk. Vancouver has so much to offer. I know this is very Vancouver specific. It has so much to offer. There's views, there's hiking, there's, you know, everything. But yeah, you do have a lot of downtime, and you have to learn to manage that, you know? If you are not the kind of person that's used to having a lot of downtime because you were just so busy in high school, or you were so involved, we always had friends, it does shock you a little bit. So just be prepared for that. Number 5, I don't know why I did that. Anyways, number 5, and this one can be kind of specific, so I say this with an asterisk at the beginning of it. Is that how you say it? Asterisk? Yeah. Depending on what you're involved in and what faculty you're in, or even just sometimes like extracurriculars, you tend to go to formal events, and so you want to be prepared for that. And I know, like, for me personally, when I watched a lot of videos pre-university, it was like, yeah, you don't need all your formal stuff, you don't need all your formal stuff unless you're like in a sorority or in a frat. You don't need formal stuff, yappa 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 yappa. Wrong. The reality is, you end up going, at least at UBC, I can't speak for a lot of other places, but I'm going to say at least at UBC, there's a lot of formal stuff happening, or semi-formal, or stuff that you should look good for. So for example, I'll use myself as an example, duh. So I'm in a scholarship program, and even though they don't have like a lot of events, there's like keynote, like specific events that we have to go to. So one of the events is like a welcome dinner for like new scholars, because we get new scholars every year. That's a formal, semi-formal event that you want to kind of dress up for. So like, I'm not saying pull up in a suit and be dressed to the nines, but you want to be dressed to like the 4.5s. I don't know if that's a saying, but you want to be dressed to the 4.5s, you know? put on some nice dress pants, put on some nice shoes. They don't have to be heels. I don't like wearing heels that much, even though I own multiple pairs. They don't have to be heels. You can wear sneakers, but nice dress pants, nice shirt, do your hair really well. You don't have to wear makeup, but you know, just dress to the 4.5s instead of the 9s. But also sometimes there's like big galas with like admin, the president of UBC, donors, investors. You never really know, so you always want to like plan for that. And when I say plan for that, I don't mean like go out and buy a suit, go out and buy like the most expensive dress, but just be prepared. Incorporate dress pants into your wardrobe. Incorporate a nice like formal dress, a nice cocktail dress, loafers if you're not like the kind of person that wears a lot of heels, or like a nice block heel if you want to experiment with heels that are in neutral colors so you think you can match them up with other things. And with the like on the dress pant front, you don't always have to wear them for formal events. I wear dress pants in everyday life. If I like on the days I wake up and I'm like, yep, I want to look good today, dress pant kind of day. So you just always want to prepare for that. And I think I just want to correct the mindset that you only ever need formal clothes if you're in a sorority or if you're in a frat. A lot of faculties and like groups at UBC just end up getting invited to things. So within each faculty there's like an undergraduate society, they have their own things. You just want to be prepared, you know. I'm a preparer. I don't know about everybody out there, but you know, oh shush, you just want to be prepared for any eventualities and just show up as your best self to networking events, to galas, to any invitationals or whatever it is you get. So pro tip there. This one's very LOL, but I wrote it down, so we're gonna put it in the video. You will have quite a number of WTF moments. Yeah, that's really all I have to say. You'll have quite a number of WTF moments where stuff will happen and you're just like, what just happened? Why did that happen? How did that happen? When, where? You know, go through the 5 W's or 4 W's and the H. That's just university, that's young adults, that's people figuring out life. And I think the biggest thing with those WTF moments is don't let them, you know, change you. Don't let them, you know, sure, it's jarring sometimes when people do things or when things happen and you're like, but it is what it is. It's life. And sometimes they will come from the most unexpected places, the most unexpected people, but that's university. Like I said, you just roll with it. So yeah. What the heck moments. Next, I don't even know what count we're on anymore. I think we're at 7 or 6. Number 6. One of those numbers. So this is kind of a given. It seems stupid to even repeat this, but I will put that out there anyway for anyone that does watch this video. Use a calendar of some kind. Google Calendar, Apple Calendar, Notion. Write a physical calendar like I have back there. Keep whatever it is that works for you, do it. Do it, do it, do it, do it. I cannot stress that enough, because I think for me in high school, I used to just kind of roll with it, be like, yeah, I remember. Babe, university does university. And so at UBC we use Canvas, and you can like sometimes rely on Canvas calendar, but it's usually not the most accurate. And you could just use Google Calendar, Apple Calendar, whatever it is that works for you. And you can always integrate those systems. A lot of them are so easy to where you can link all of them together, and whenever there's an update, it goes through all calendars just to make sure you're you know, on par. There's so many times where I thought an assignment was due at 11:59 p.m. I look at it twice. Nope, it's 11:59 a.m. Or the prof has canceled stuff for the day, or assignments don't exist. Just make sure, or like prof announced the one day you didn't go to class, the professor announced a new assignment, you didn't catch it. All that stuff. Use those calendars to keep you organized, and don't Canvas, Blackboard, we love them. They're not the best because they're sometimes slow to integrate, or sometimes they break down, and there's just a lot of things that can and will go wrong with those systems, and you want to be prepared for the eventuality. following up on that point, check your email. Check your freaking email, check your freaking email, check your freaking email, check your email. If you need to create an email that's specifically for university, do it. If you need to create an email that's labeled Zah'ra's University Life, do it. Because, or like create a label under your current, like existing email. Because if you're the kind of person that signs up for a lot of like just mail and mail and mail, and you get a ton of mail, you might sometimes miss important announcements. You might miss the email that your professors canceled class for the day, and then you walk all the way to class to see that there's no one there. So just to avoid that, check that email. Life happens. Professors have lives too. Emergencies happen. Check your email. I cannot stress that enough. But also check your email to see if anyone's emailing you, because not only your professor emails you. So when you're in a university system, a ton of people, a wide range of people have access to your email. That seems weird, but within your faculty at least, and whatever programs you're involved in, those people do have access to your emails. And if they ever need to, if they just want to slide you stuff like, hey, we think this is important, we might be interested, you never know. Check your emails so you don't miss out on those emails from your professor, but also so you don't miss out on exciting opportunities, because you never know where those might lead. Okay, so we're almost done. I got two more. For the last two, these ones are a little bit but we're gonna put it out there anyways. Number 9 on this list, roommates. So this one's a very divisive topic, and I could go on and on and on and on. That might be a separate video where I just talk about roommates with some of my friends, because we've all had kind of varying experiences. So I have that privilege of, when I was in first year, I really only had one roommate, and I didn't share a room with her, I shared a bathroom with her. So it was very like separate living situations. But then this year, coin got flipped on me, and I ended up living with 5 people in an apartment. And we shared one bathroom, or 2 bathrooms and a toilet, and then a kitchen, and then the living area. And I would say it's it was definitely an experience. That's the shortest way to put it. Yeah, roommates can be, there's good experiences, there's also bad experiences, and there's ugly experiences. My experience, I would say this year at least, was on the good-ish side for the most part. You know, my roommates were good people, hold nothing against them. You know, they're good people. Would I ever live with them again? That's a story for another day. No. But yeah, roommates, especially when it's a system where you don't know who you're going to be living with. The roommate situation is very different if it's like you're living with your friend and stuff like that. That's very different. But if it's strangers, it can go either way, you know. And so I think my biggest advice with the roommate situation is kind of just setting those boundaries, understanding what the expectations are. What are the cleanliness expectations? What are the noise expectations? Drinking, all those things, you know, because people live differently, and I think that's what living with roommates has taught me, is like living standards are different, cleanliness standards are different. As an African person, as a black person, I gobsmacked. That's the only word I could use to describe it. Gobsmacked. I have stories for days that I will not get into this video, but there's good times and there's bad times. And no matter how much you try to like make friends with your roommates and stuff like that, it's one thing to be friends with them, but then it's another thing to live with them, you know. And those are just 2 words that you have to learn to navigate. So I guess my entire, you know, takeaway point from this whole spiel about roommates: prepare yourself for the worst, so that way when the worst doesn't happen, you're good. And if the worst does happen, just, you know, power through it. You really only have to live with them for a couple months, and then you're back to your safe haven, and you pray and hope that life doesn't, you know, deal you something terrible or wishy-washy the next time. And finally, my last point for this video, even though I've been rambling for a little bit, this one seems like common sense, but I think I'm just gonna put it in there anyways. Look into your university city, look into your college town, whatever it is, whatever context this applies to you, look into it. And I don't just mean like where it is on the map and like how to get there and stuff like that. Look into it. What's the living situation like? What's the housing situation like? How expensive is the city? How expensive is it to like go out in the city? How expensive is it to eat? If I want to go see a show, if I want to go see a movie, look into those things. Anything that you know aligns with your current lifestyle that you live right now. So let's say if back home, for example, you and your friends go watch a movie once every 2 weeks, translate that to the city you're going to be living in. Okay, if I wanted to go do that there, how much would it cost me? If I wanted to go to a restaurant on a whim, how much is it going to cost me? If I wanted to do my monthly grocery shop, how much is that going to cost me? And you know, that also kind of going back to my first point of saving up, it helps you gauge how much you need to save depending on like if you have a job out there and stuff like that. It just prepares you, honestly. And if you're the kind of person that like is being supported by their parents, which bless the parents by the way, it prepares them. It helps them, you know, prepare their pockets for like this is how much more this kid is going to need when they're in, you know, university and stuff like that. So it definitely just puts everyone in gear and helps them prepare mentally and physically and financially. And so I think that's just a good tip and something I really wish I knew, because I think it's very easy to get lost in the sentiment of like, oh, Vancouver this, Vancouver that, Vancouver this, Vancouver that, and like, oh, it's so pretty, it's so this, it's so that. Yes, it's pretty, but like, you know, so just making sure you're doing the research in a context that applies to you and not just like the general consensus of this place that you're going to be living in. And it does help you in the end. And so I think like if someone had told me these 10 things before university, it definitely would have helped. I would have thanked them. And so now I'm doing that for you and giving you this advice in advance. And I really hope like you take something away from this and, you know, just it helps you in some way. One extra tip that I will put in there though, and this kind of makes it 11 things, but anyways, we won't count that. One extra thing, I see a lot of people like when they're going to university being like, oh, I need to get an iPad, I need to get an iPad, I need to get an iPad. Let me tell you, don't put that on that list of like school supplies. Don't put it in the first, like, especially going into your first semester, I would not recommend it. And I say that not because like of anything, but just I've seen a lot of people that will like get iPads, but then they hate it at the end of the day. It doesn't work for them because they have a computer, they have all these other things, and the iPad just doesn't fit into that. Now for me, my situation was kind of different where like I already had the iPad pre-going to university, so I got an iPad in high school. If that's your situation, keep your iPad, follow through with it. But the point I'm trying to make is don't make a big switch up until you've had a semester in university or college and you're like, okay, I need to integrate this because it's going to work for me. Make sure it works for you. Experience a semester first and then decide. Because I find a lot of people find that like having just their laptop works for them. Some people like taking notes on pen and paper. So just try whatever strategy you were kind of using before you make that pivotal change. Also because iPads are expensive. You don't want to be spending all that money just for you to hate it by the end of the day. And always, if you're gonna end up buying an iPad, go for cheaper, go for like lower, like older generations. Just make sure that, you know, it works for you. Don't break the bank because you're trying to get an iPad. Same kind of applies to computers, where it's like, unless you specifically need it for whatever program you're going into, yeah. So just be wise and use context. Anyways, that's my extra tidbit for this video. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found something from it, and let me know if you guys like this video and want more of this content style. I know I've sat here and blabbered and blabbered and blabbered, but I'm gonna shut up now because my camera is about to die, and I hope you come back to the next video and just experience my channel more. See you around.